What if I told you that the true villain of Star Wars isn't Palpatine? It isn't Darth Vader. It's a 900-year-old creature who has been pulling the strings since before any of them were born. A creature who built the system that created Darth Vader, who trained the man who destroyed the Jedi, who ran away when it all collapsed, and who manipulated a grieving farm boy into a suicide mission without telling him the man he needed to kill was his father. His name is Yoda, and this is the case against him. To understand what Yoda did, you first need to understand what he built. The Jedi Order wasn't just a religion, it was a pipeline. Force-sensitive children were identified, sometimes as infants, and taken from their families, permanently. The code they were raised on had one central rule above all others. Attachment is forbidden. Love is forbidden. Family is forbidden. Because the Jedi believed that love leads to fear, fear leads to loss, and loss leads to the dark side. On paper, that sounds wise. In practice, what it produced was a generation of psychologically isolated warriors who had never been allowed to form a single, healthy human bond in their lives. Yoda didn't just follow this code, he enforced it for 900 years, across thousands of Jedi. This was his design, and it had a 100% failure rate with everyone who needed it most. Now let's talk about Anakin Skywalker, because every single thing that went wrong starts with a decision Yoda made. When Qui-Gon Jinn brought a 9-year-old slave boy before the Jedi Council and said, "This child is the chosen one, the most powerful Force user we have ever seen." Yoda's response was, "No, he's too old. He feels too much fear. We won't train him." That is the correct instinct. Yoda was right to hesitate. The problem is what happened next. Qui-Gon died, and rather than stand by their decision, the Council reversed it. They let Obi-Wan, himself just a newly promoted Jedi Knight with zero experience as a master, train the most powerful and emotionally volatile Force user in galactic history. Yoda watched this happen. He approved it. He had every resource in the Jedi Order at his disposal. He assigned a rookie. Then, for the next decade, as Anakin showed every warning sign imaginable, rage, attachment, visions, defiance, Yoda did nothing structurally. He offered Anakin cryptic advice about letting go of fear, while building him into the weapon that would eventually burn everything down. Palpatine didn't create Darth Vader. Yoda's system did. Palpatine just handed him the ignition key. Order 66, the night the Jedi were slaughtered across the galaxy. Yoda survived. He killed the clones coming for him, felt every Jedi death through the Force simultaneously, and then confronted Palpatine directly in the Senate chamber. He lost, and then he ran, not to regroup, not to build a resistance, not to find survivors or protect the remaining Jedi. He went to a swamp on a planet no one had ever heard of, and he sat there for 20 years. Meanwhile, the Empire enslaved the galaxy. Millions died. Entire systems were crushed under Imperial rule. Bail Organa was building an actual rebellion. Owen and Beru Lars were raising a child in secret, risking their lives every day. And the greatest Jedi Master who ever lived was in a swamp, eating frogs. When Luke Skywalker finally found Yoda on Dagobah, he arrived as a young man carrying the grief of watching his mentor die, looking for answers, looking for hope. What did Yoda give him? He withheld information. He manipulated him through tests designed to manufacture doubt. He watched Luke see a vision of his friends dying, and then told him not to go save them. And when Luke, in Return of the Jedi, came back and asked the one question he needed answered, Is Darth Vader really my father? Yoda waited until he was literally dying to confirm it, like it was an inconvenient detail. Then he told Luke he needed to confront Vader, to face him. He never told Luke that Vader could be saved. He never told Luke about Leia. He sent him in with half the information and called it training. Why? Because Yoda had already written Anakin off. He had decided the man was beyond saving, and rather than consider that he might be wrong, that the system he built might be wrong, he was willing to send a 23-year-old to die proving it. The only reason Luke succeeded is because he refused to listen to Yoda. I'm not saying Yoda was evil. I'm saying something more unsettling than that. Yoda was the most powerful, most experienced, most intelligent force in the galaxy for 9 centuries. He had every tool, every resource, every warning sign. He watched the same patterns repeat across 1,000 years of Jedi history. And he never once questioned the system he built. That's not villainy. That's something worse. That's certainty. The absolute, unshakable belief that you are right, that your way is the only way, even as everything around you collapses. Palpatine wanted power. Darth Vader wanted his son back. Yoda wanted nothing except to be right. And that made him the most dangerous being in the galaxy. The Jedi were right about one thing. There is no emotion. There is peace. Yoda found his peace. The rest of the galaxy paid for it.